mushrooms are big in the public consciousness right now. In Oregon, we passed some legislation about therapeutic psilocybin. The Last of Us is pretty entertaining on HBO, based off of the Naughty Dog game. And now scientists have used mushrooms. In fact, I think it's the same type of fungus that they reference in Last of Us, cordyceps. Maybe I'm wrong. To create a living computer. They used like the mycelial connections. And those of you guys who have watched, I think they talk about this in Star Trek Discovery. I haven't watched it yet, but Paul Stamets, the mycologist, he discovered these connections between mushrooms that allow them to exchange information between mushrooms. I mean, I guess it's just between fungi in general. Mushrooms are like the reproductive thing. Getting really in the weeds here. Getting really in the mushroom spores here. But anyway, they used these connections in the fungus to transfer information to make a computer of some sorts. And you can see in the image here, when Jeff gets back, kind of what they did. There you go. Yeah. Now they're not transferring like immense amounts of data. You know what I mean?
The funny thing about this is TechSpot tried to make a science fiction callback and say like bionics or
Cybernetics.
Biological mixed with cybernetic. Way ahead of you, Skull. Haha.
For once.
Right. Science fiction has been mixing biological and cybernetic components and technology for generations. Like look at Star Trek. In shows like Star Trek, where the blind character Geordi LaForge had a visor that allowed him to see, like in video games like Deus Ex. How about the fact that both Next Generation and Voyager introduced us to gel packs, which were literally bioorganic CPUs that they used throughout the ship? Like, they're not talking about cyborgs here. They're talking about using organisms, organic material as data transference or processing devices. And that's not attaching a visor to Geordi's face. That's a biocell or a biopack that goes into the conduit in a Jeffries tube in Star Trek Voyager. That's what that is.
Well, and they're part of what they're interested in this TechCrunch article is the implications that it has for biological interfacing. Not necessarily that it is that. I think that they did kind of a poor job with that. But what's interesting is, I was talking about this when you weren't here, is that fungus already does this in nature with this network of fine hair-like tubes called mycelia.
Mycelia, yeah.
And what's crazy is that like trees have learned to interface with the mycelia and use the mycelia to send signals to other trees. For example, like a mother tree might send signals to their offspring during times of drought or times when nutrients aren't as readily available and things like this. And so it's like, this is kind of already what the mycelia is being used for in nature. And so then to use it in order to transfer like ones and zeros and things like this across a PCB is like kind of interesting. So I think the technology can only, continue to advance. Who knows where it's headed or what it's going to do. The scientists in this article themselves, they say it's more of just a proof of concept than anything. I don't think that they personally thought that they were breaking any ground necessarily, but like, here it is. It's done. Now we can keep chipping away.
Yeah.
So yeah, fungus is really fascinating.